Hi, I'm Vanessa, and I'm the author of A Key to Home, Unlatch the Adventure. I hope everybody enjoys it. Thank you for coming to this interview for So Booking Cool, and have a great day.
So fucking cool.
It's so motherfucking cool to listen to So Fucking Cool.
Welcome to So Booking Cool, it's Jewel B. Today's guest is the author of the debut children's book, A Key to Home, Unlatch the Adventure, the first in a series. She is Vanessa Rodriguez.
Hello.
Hi, Vanessa. How are you these days?
I'm good. I'm excited. The book is published on Halloween, so that's exciting.
And I want to say what some will notice is that you wrote a lovely article, which I've received like a lot of good feedback on sobookingcool.com, and you just opened up about, your journey to becoming a published author. So how did you arrive at your idea for that, for those who didn't get to check it out yet, for A Key to Home?
Well, I have a friend who I work with that published a book. And when I saw this, I was like, I want to do this. I can do this. I spoke to her. And after I spoke to her, one thing led to another. And I ended up writing a manuscript. And from the manuscript, I ended up pitching my book to Priceless Publishing.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, we went from the it being sorry edited, and then the illustrations, and now it's going to be published.
The cover is beautiful, by the way.
Yes, I love it.
When you look at it, what goes through your mind, Vanessa?
I mean, it's kind of surreal, because it's like, this is my creation, and it's I love the illustrations so much. It's so beautiful. And it's cool because it says written by Vanessa Rodriguez, and I'm like, oh, I'm an author.
You very much are. Is that something that you've shared with anyone? Like, have you come into conversations lately and it's like, well, what do you do? Or, and have you mentioned that you're an author?
Yes, actually. There's actually people who are inspired by my friend and myself now, and asked about the process. So I told them anything that they need to know, and if they have any other questions that they could ask me. I also speak to my family about it and my friends, and they're pretty excited.
Yeah, I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're also proud of you.
Yes.
And before we talk more about A Key to Home, just want to also know about you as a reader or as a storyteller, just some of your thoughts. What themes would you say are important to you as a storyteller?
I like themes where you could learn something from it, like a lesson of sorts, or you could get something out of it. So like in my book, that's a really big thing. The kids go up against a negative emotion, and then they find a solution. And that's what I'm hoping comes across when kids read the book.
And did you have other ideas for A Key to Home before you arrived at this, which I love the concept of, you know, children who are latchkey kids, which is a very real experience in the world. Did you have other ideas? And if so, how did you know to go with this idea for your first book?
Honestly, I when I asked myself, what should I write? I remember getting advice saying, write what you know. And the first thing that popped into my head was latchkey kids, because I was a latchkey kid. So that was my immediate thought as soon as I thought about writing this book.
Did you want to tell the whole experience, or was it more of like, these are the key things that I want to talk about from this experience?
Yeah, so when you read it, you see like the kids, they go through like class together, they go through school and everything, and then they go through their adventure. Um, but it's very specific. It's just like you wake up, empty house, you go to school, you come back, empty house. So what do you do in between? And so that kind of like is what the book states.
Okay. And do you think in order, Vanessa, for someone to be a storyteller that they need to find or they need to have a point of view?
Yeah, because it's like, you need to know where you're writing from, where you're what you're trying to get across.
Hmm. And how do you shape yours?
Just basically around my own experiences.
Is there, like, when you're sharing your own experiences, is there ever something that, I'm like, okay, I don't have to share this, but I can share what I'm comfortable with sharing?
I like to delve deeply. I don't mind opening myself up, although it is nerve-wracking. But I rather get to the nitty-gritties because there are other people who feel these emotions, who go through these experiences, and I feel like if we make them feel like they're not alone or there is a solution, so I delve deeply.
Now, when did you develop a love or an interest in literature, would you say?
So as soon as I could learn how to read and write, like kindergarten, I was reading and I was writing, and I started out with like poetry and short stories. And even though they didn't make that much sense because I was a little girl, they developed as I grew older. And eventually they became works of art that I, hold dear to myself. And eventually it led to me wanting to be an author, wanting to have my own book published. And so when I got this opportunity, I just had to take it.
Good. And something that you had to overcome was procrastination, right? How do you think people can overcome that?
Just do it. Just do it. Like, don't think about doing it later. Don't, maybe even set up a deadline for yourself. That helps me. If I have like a deadline, then it's like, okay, well, I have to do it by this time. Like, it doesn't matter what I could come up with that I could do otherwise. I need to do exactly what I need to do right at that moment. And that's the only reason why I got to write this book, because procrastination is real. Yeah. And it's also a sense of, you get nervous about presenting your own work to people. So that also kind of holds you back. Like, will anybody like my stuff? And that also like makes you feel like, let me just procrastinate a little bit more, But that's what I would suggest, like setting up deadlines.
And you really hit on something, because you're showing what we know to be true. Procrastination is not just delaying something that you might not want to do, but it can happen for things that you even want to do.
Yes.
And like you said, because of nerves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's very real. So when it comes to deadlines, like, how far should someone go? How should someone begin to set up deadlines? It might sound obvious, but how do you do it, Vanessa?
Well, honestly, I started up a writing club with friends that I trust. And we basically would do everything once a month. And we would have set goals. So the first goal was just to develop the characters, develop the story. And then the last goal was to write the story. So that's the deadline that I gave myself. So I was able to write it within 3 months.
Wow. And how's the writing club doing today? How are they all doing?
They're good. It's just one of them is pregnant, so she's just kind of like busy with that. So we kind of took a break, but we're gonna get back to it. But I'm super excited for her.
Now, when it comes to your books, do you know it like the back of your hand? Like what happens on this page and that page?
I could generally know what's happening, but like word for word, no. I would have to like look at the book to read it.
And when you would write, did you need to be in a quiet room?
Actually, I listen to music because it kind of like cancels out everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like songs that I've heard a million times, so I'm not like focused on them. And I just type it up and I just come up with ideas, and I usually write linearly, so like from beginning to end. So that's basically what I do.
And what's some of those songs?
So I like Korn.
Oh, okay, like the rock group.
Like the rock group. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
like 90s, early 2000s rock. That's what I love.
Mm-hmm.
And I still have an iPod. So I listen to my iPod, and it's the same songs over and over again.
Okay, yeah. And what about weather? Because I know some authors say that they like when it's a rainy day. It pulls a lot of inspiration out of them.
For me, it doesn't really matter. It's more of a if I have inspiration, period.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Then I could just write. And usually it's during the day
Okay.
because my mind's more active. So it could be rain, snow, shine, whatever. But honestly, when it rains, I like to read.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now, when you like to read, is there a favorite place that you like to read that book? And what's your favorite book genre?
So I could read usually in my bedroom or my living room or at work. Honestly I could read anywhere. I love sci-fi fantasy genre.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing about that genre?
Just the fact that you could dive into like your imagination while you're reading it and then like it just comes to life. And I just love that. And it's so different from reality, you know?
With your yeah, and with your own book, A Key to Home, what are the things that you're so excited about children being the audience, right? Or would you say there are other people who are a part of this audience too that you're trying to reach and not just children, but what are you so excited for people to take away?
I'm excited for people to take away the fact that despite your situation, there's always a brighter side. That's what I want them to take away. I don't want to give too much away from the book, but basically what the kids go through, they have this negative emotion, which is loneliness, and they fight against that to figure out how to not feel that way anymore. So I want them just to be able to like realize that there is a way out of this. I don't have to feel this emotion. And even if it's not the way that I came up with, it could be something that they could come up with themselves.
So basically them finding the courage, Vanessa.
Yeah, to just basically delve deeply and realize that, you're not alone, and which is hard for a lot of people, even adults, to realize that they're not alone.
That's very real. Do you have it so that you know exactly what the next books in the series are going to be?
Yes, actually, I'm working on the second one right now. It's a 4-book series.
Okay.
So each character, there's 4 characters, they're like the main character in each book.
Okay.
Ron is the first one, Ben is the second one, then it goes to Farah, and then it goes to Moira. I'm really excited because I really love the theme that I came up with for the next book.
Ooh, that is exciting.
Yeah.
When it came to creating these 4 characters, do you see them solely as characters or do you look at them as people?
They're like my kids. Like I was just joking around. I don't have kids. I was joking around and I was like, for Mother's Day, you have to give me something because I have 4 kids now.
Oh. How did you come up with their characteristics?
So I actually interviewed a lot of adults that were once latchkey kids. And from those interviews, I created characteristics that became each character. And so it's actually pretty exciting because it's like I could envision them as a real person because they came from real people. And then they're also their own person and they have their own personalities. And I just think it's amazing how that process can happen.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned too in the article you did the interviews. When you did the interviews, did you share with them that this is for my book?
Yes, I did. Yeah. And they were, some of them were very personal questions. And I was telling them, if you don't feel comfortable, you don't have to answer. But everybody answered that I asked. I asked a lot of people, maybe 15 people, 15, 20 people to fill out a questionnaire. And I just went through all of them and created my characters from there.
Do you have any storytellers that you're a big fan of? And if so, what would you want to discuss with them if you have not already?
Honestly, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, so J.K. Rowling is wow to me. It would be amazing to speak to her just to understand where she got her concepts from because her books are longer. They're for an older, child. like preteen, and it goes into like adulthood. Like anybody could read that book, but or those books. But I would love to ask her where she gets her concepts from, where she gets her inspiration from, and what drives her.
Who knows? It might happen one day, Vanessa.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you want people to know about you as an author?
That I am kind, I'm sensitive, I love to read, and I love children. And I hope that, you know, at least one person is inspired by my book.
From those who have read it already, what has been the feedback so far?
So I've actually only had one child read it. To get her reaction. I didn't want too many people reading the book. I wanted it to be a surprise for when it like got published. And she loved it. It was funny because she was laughing about a lot of parts that I didn't even think was funny. So I was just like, wow. So like kids, they have their own way of thinking about things. And then when she explained it, I was like, that does sound funny. And I didn't even write it to be funny, but it actually came out that way. So I thought that was cool.
So with you getting that kind of reaction, right, from this reader, is that something that you're then saying that, oh, maybe other children are going to react the same way?
That's what I hope. I hope that other kids, they like it, really enjoy it. There was very specific things that she pointed out throughout the book that she really, really liked. And I'm hoping that impacts the children that read it, and even the adults, because I have like many adult supporters that are going to read it as well.
What was one of her favorite things about the book?
Well, there's a part where Veronica is doing a presentation, and she just loved the topic so much. It was about like a nationality, so she really loved the topic so much.
That's beautiful. Is representation important?
I feel it is, because there's not many books that I come across where there's, Spanish people. So that's why, like, for my first book, Veronica, she's Puerto Rican. I'm Puerto Rican. She's representing Puerto Ricans. And I feel like that's really important so that other kids can see. Like when my cousins saw the illustrations, they were like, she looks like me. That was huge. That's huge. And so each one of them are actually from a different ethnic background. And I wanted it to be also really inclusive. So I just feel like if you could look at my characters and be like, mommy, that's me. Like I could be in a book too, or I could write a book too. That'd be amazing.
Can you see yourself doing the read alouds at school, or just and doing school visits, and then also teachers reading the books with their kids?
Yes.
Good.
And I also want to do read alouds at libraries and after school programs. I feel that if I could get it into the school system, that it'll reach a lot of children. And I know that I already have actually a bunch of teachers lined up that want to read the book to their kids.
Oh, excellent.
Their classes, yeah.
Yes. What is the starting age for the book? Is it 9-year-olds? Because these characters, they're 9, right?
Yeah, they're 9. It's from 6 to 12.
6 to 12. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And do they stay 9 throughout the series?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, the series is like 1 week long. It's just within 1 week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are the challenges, and what are some of the easiest parts of doing that, telling a story within that frame?
So some of the challenges is basically making it not repetitive.
Okay.
That was one of my biggest things that I had to really like delve into and think about, was how can I have another negative emotion be addressed and like find a solution without it being the same exact solution from the first book. Because then it's like, what are you really learning from it? Everything can't be solved by one thing. So like that, it took me a long time to come to terms with it. And also just basically figuring out what imaginative game they're going to go into, because that's my book is really big with imagination. And how can it be different but still fulfill what I'm trying to get across? And the easy part is the fact that since it is within 1 week, I can have a theme. So within that theme, it helps me keep everything on track.
It sounds like this could also be adapted for like television or film,
That would be awesome.
like a digital series or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
How important, when it comes to those film and television adaptations, how important do you think it is for like the author to be involved, or for it to really be about the book?
I feel like it's very important as an avid reader
Mhm.
and fan of books that have been that became movies. It's hard to like read the book and then watch the movie and it has nothing to do with each other. It's almost like they didn't even read the book themselves. I feel that if my book was to get to that point, which would be amazing, I would want them to stay true to the story as much as possible. I know some things have to be changed because, to turn it from a book to a movie, there's certain things that need to be changed, but I feel that the core of my story should at least come across.
What do you feel about the best way for authors to engage with their readers, with their supporters?
I feel the best way is to actually like just talk to the children themselves, and then maybe speak to adult so that you could get permission to speak to your children too, or speak to teachers so you could get into the classroom, speak to the librarians so you could get into the library, speak to whoever you need to speak to basically get to the audience, which is children for me.
Okay, beautiful. Now, with the next book and the book after that, is it going to be a key to home and then the subtitle is different?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Was it easy coming up with the title at all, since, we know the background story of the Latchkey Kids?
Actually, it wasn't. I'm really bad with titles. It took me like a really long time and help from my publisher and my writing mentor to come up with the title. And I really think that it shows, because at first I wanted to have something Latchkey Kids within the title, but then it's like a lot of people don't know what that is. So the fact that we created it where it says Unlatch the Adventure, there's still like the latch part into it, and she still has the key. She's holding the key in the front cover with the door behind her. I feel like it still like brings that message across, but it's more modern.
And with Priceless Publishing, we love, shout out to Priceless Publishing. What has been the best part about working with them?
Honestly, Dr. Shajay is amazing. She knows what she's doing, and she's helped me through every single part of this process. And it's a long process, and it's hard. It's a lot. There's a lot of information, there's a lot of things you have to do, but it's enjoyable and it's rewarding. And I don't think I would have came this far without Priceless Publishing helping me in this experience.
What advice do you have for the author who is currently going through their first publishing experience?
Definitely do your research. Definitely, if you can, try to get a publishing company. It doesn't have to be a traditional publishing company. It could be like the new kinds where you pay a package and then they just basically help you do everything between editing and illustrations and just everything in between, even helping you with your marketing plan. It really helps because honestly, when I started, I just didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what to do. The only thing that I could just begin with is the concept. And then eventually the manuscript after I did all the interviews. And then I didn't know where to go from there. So when I was informed about Priceless Publishing and I pitched my idea and she loved it, and she allowed me to go under her publishing company, it really helps because it basically, it was just like, there's a map, it's all laid out, and this is what you need to do. and this is a time you have to do it within.
Mhm.
And it made it a lot more easier. I don't feel like I would have, I really feel like I would have been like a chicken without a head with if I was to do this on my own.
So it's very much a team effort then. You can't
Yes,
do it.
it takes a family. Honestly, it's not just the publishing company, it's also like the support that I've been receiving from my family and my friends and my writing mentor, Modena. She really, really helped me just bring it out and create it into a life of its own. I feel like if you're gonna go through this, it's really important to have a support group.
Now, what about, do you see you and Modena maybe writing something together one day?
Probably not, but she has her own ideas. I have my own ideas, and we'll just support each other.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, goodness. Vanessa, could you imagine a world without books?
Oh no, that's boring.
Yeah. Right. Perfect. Yeah. And if it was, which would be, oh my God, who do you think would be most affected by that?
Children, because, and adults, for children, because it helps them with their imagination, just really going out there, especially nowadays where everything's about electronics. If you could just pause the iPad and just pick up a book, it allows you to really not only learn vocabulary really well, but also expand your imagination. And for adults, it's kind of like an escapism kind of thing, depending on how your life is. You could just enjoy somebody else's life that's doing fantastical things and just step away from reality for a little bit.
You mentioned corn earlier.
Yes.
Would you ever write nonfiction, first of all? And would you write a book that incorporates like rock in some kind of way if you haven't already?
No, I don't think I would, because I find it more easier just to write what's in my head, which usually is fiction type based things. But I wouldn't mind adding like a rock vibe to one of my books. I plan on writing even more books after this book series.
Yes,
Yeah.
Vanessa. So how do you keep track of your book ideas?
They're all in my head.
Very good. So it stays very good.
Yeah.
What do you do when you're not at home writing, but an idea pops up? So how do you hold on to that idea?
I use the notes I have an iPhone. I use the notes program and I just like jot it down, and then later on I'll look back at it. Or I'll just remember it later on. And then it's like when I'm sitting down and ready to write, I'm like, okay, well, I remember saying this earlier in my mind, and now let me just type it out and then I'll add it somehow.
And what are some of those books that you plan on writing in the future, like with the genre? Anything?
Oh, it's fiction, but you see these two little doggies here?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Bailey and Oscar. I plan on writing The Adventures of Bailey and Oscar, which are those are my doggies.
Wow, yes. That was wonderful. Very good, Vanessa.
Thank you.
And I really love how you're, that whole write what you know.
Yes.
I like that. How can people write what they know, but at the same time still challenge themselves?
Well, because you're not going to know everything. Write what you know is based off your own experiences, but there's other experiences or other people who experience the same thing, but in different ways. That's why I feel like research is really, really important, to reach out, to talk to other people, not just keep it within your head, because there's so much more out there, and it can really change and affect and make your story grow in a whole other way that you didn't even think about. So I feel like you write what you know, which is your own experiences, but also gain more knowledge.
And on that note, Vanessa Rodriguez. Yes, Vanessa. Wow, congratulations to you on your first book. And this is just the beginning for you. A Key to Home will be available everywhere October 31st, right? Wherever books are sold. What else can you tell us? Any other upcoming things that we should know about, Vanessa, and how can people keep up with you?
Well, I have an Instagram, A Key to Home, one word, and I put everything on there. There will be a book launch, hopefully November, and I'm hoping that as many people as can be possible can just come, and I'm gonna do signings, and they could take pictures and everything like that. There'll be like little cupcakes and stuff, but yeah, so it's just my book launch is the next big thing.
And why do you think that day is the best day for the book to come into the world? It's
Well,
exciting.
Halloween or the book launch?
Yeah, Halloween. Yeah, that's
Oh,
exciting.
because I love Halloween. I love like just dressing up. I love that in a year from now I could put my little characters in costumes for like the first year anniversary. I thought that was like it's so adorable. I love like the holidays, but Halloween and like Christmas are my favorite. So it's really just exciting. It just happens to be that day. I didn't choose that day. The publisher was like, this is the day. And I was like, yes, can we keep this day? Like, please.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And would love to talk with you again, especially like for the next books
Oh
and
yeah.
everything that you do.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you as well. And thank you also to the viewers and to the listeners. Until next time, so booking cool.